Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hurricane HQ, and today we have another United States severe weather update here for October 26th, 2021, and in this video I will be going over all of the current severe weather impacts that the central U.S. could be seeing today, along with how the northeastern U.S. could be affected by this nor'easter, which is currently impacting especially New England and the northeastern United States. Now let's first start this video here with our latest SPC Outlook here. This is from the Storm Prediction Center today. And as you can see, we actually have enhanced risk for severe weather in this orange indicated region. This is for Oklahoma and Texas here. So if you're in this orange area, that means numerous severe thunderstorms are possible. And that's you should definitely be watching out for some decently strong thunderstorms within this area. Now, we also have the slight risk surrounding that enhanced here. And the slight risk is for scattered severe thunderstorms here. Scattered to possibly numerous could be in this slight risk area. And then this marginal is isolated to scattered thunderstorms. So yeah, we could be seeing a few severe thunderstorms within this marginal risk. And then, again, surrounding that entire area, we have that TSTM, which basically means you could be seeing a few thunderstorms, maybe with wind gusts up to 40 mile per hour and pea-sized hail. And then we also have another TSTM risk in the eastern United States here, especially the coastal areas, because of that nor'easter. Now, if we move on to our current tornado probabilities here, as you can see, we actually have a 5% risk here for some tornadoes. So this is definitely a decent risk here for some of those rotating thunderstorms. Some of those rotating thunderstorms could form and potentially spawn a few tornadoes within this 5% or 2% area here. Although in that 5%, it is a bit more likely to see a tornado. So I definitely watch out if you're in this 5% or even 2%, honestly, for a tornado warning or tornado on the ground possibly. Now we move on to our hail probabilities. This is actually the highest threat today. We have actually 30% risk for hail, along with a significant risk in this black shaded region here. And that means that we could be seeing hail in potentially larger than 2 inches in diameter there. So we have to be really watching out for the hail potential in that shaded black area and red region there, because that's our threat for the largest hail today, potentially 1 to 2 inches in diameter. Now we also have a 15% in that yellow region and that 5% in the green region as well. So this is actually a hail-driven event. Now our second to highest impact today, and actually the other reason we have that enhanced risk is also the wind threat. There's actually a 30% chance of winds. Now, no significant risk with this threat, no significant for winds, although there is still a 30%, so there could be even more widespread winds than there normally would be with either a 15% or 5%. So we are looking at more numerous storms with the more numerous of those storms could have those strong winds. So that's basically what that is showing, and maybe even some more intense winds, possibly reaching about 70 mile per hour. So there is a chance of slightly stronger winds with that 30%, but it's mostly for the amount of storms with those strong winds, and not exactly the strength. So now if we move on to our latest day 1 excessive rainfall outlook here, you can see there's just about no threat for flooding in Oklahoma, Texas, or really any of the United States except the Northeast here. So the Northeast is what we're looking at for that flooding risk, but no other area in the U.S. actually has a threat for flooding. So that's actually very good news. Now in the Northeast, there is that marginal risk and slight risk for excessive rainfall and flash flooding. So definitely watch out if you're in the Northeast, especially the slight risk, as there is a flash flood watch in effect for that area. And even if you're in the marginal risk, we have the potential to see some more heavy rainfall tonight. And, a lot of the ground is already saturated in portions of New York and New Jersey. And I can actually confirm that here in central New Jersey, there has been a lot of heavy rainfall, and my rain gauge already picked up about 4 inches of rainfall overnight. So very, very, very heavy rainfall last night. And very numerous flash floods within the area as well. So I'd definitely say that that was a pretty big flash flood event for New Jersey, but nothing compared to Ida or anything like that. So I definitely watch out if you're in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, or Massachusetts area. Those areas are the main threat for that excessive rainfall. And yeah, I would also like to mention that New Jersey and New York State is under a state of emergency for that flooding, and that does continue over the next few days. I believe the state of emergency is for the entire impacts from the storm, the marine impacts, the flooding, and the wind threat, which could be occurring during the next few days. So I definitely watch out if you're in any of those states where that emergency was declared, and also if you're in the risk, like I'd say really anywhere south of this line right here, I'd watch out. So this area is where I'd watch out for those strong winds and pretty decent impacts. So now let's take a look at our non-thunderstorm wind threat, and we're going to take a look at a few different locations that are going to be impacted by these very strong winds. Now we're going to first start off with our worst area here. This is actually Massachusetts area, Cape Cod especially. You are in that wind threat, and I'm actually going to show right here, this purple region is actually where we could be seeing the equivalent of hurricane force winds. Yeah, hurricane force wind gusts in that purple region. And yeah, Cape Cod over here and just about this entire area over here, you have to watch out for these very strong, potentially hurricane force winds or strong tropical storm force sustained winds there. So I definitely really want to be watching the forecast if you're in eastern Massachusetts area. That's where you really have to watch out for those strong winds, potentially gusting to hurricane force or at least strong tropical storm force. Now we also have that threat for elevated risk here, which moves all the way actually into Connecticut and New York. And that risk is pretty decent, so I'd still watch out if you're in the elevator or even limited for those strong gusty winds. And then we have that limited risk for just about the entire forecasting area over here. Now, if anyone is wondering what these are, these threat levels, this purple is extreme, the red is significant, the orange is elevated, and the yellow is limited, and you can also see that on the key. So let's now take a look at our marine hazard risk, and this is actually for winds offshore, not onshore, so it's mostly offshore winds and waves. And as you can see right here, we have a lot of purple on the screen, and this purple is actually an extreme risk. So we could be seeing near hurricane force winds for the entire area, so either above hurricane force or very strong tropical storm force winds and waves offshore here. So this is actually a pretty big risk in some of these areas, and even these red areas here with that significant risk. I would say you got to watch out as well for those very dangerous marine conditions offshore. So now let's move on to our NorEaster Timeline here, and this is actually for the Massachusetts area here. This is the Boston Forecasting Office, and as you can see, tonight there's little to no impact. That was last night, tonight there is some impact, possibly northeast winds to increase to near 55 mile per hour in gust. But tomorrow, or late tonight actually, is really where we're going to start to see those threats starting to move in. As you can see right here, strong to damaging winds, potentially, with trees possibly coming down or bending significantly, lots of leaves coming off the trees, and very heavy rainfall also. So we have the risk of flash flooding and heavy strong winds and possibly some widespread damage from these strong winds as well tonight. Now we also have Wednesday. We even have some more gusts. Now not as strong, but they could be pretty strong. There's still a moderate threat that day. And then we'll move into Wednesday night, turning less gusty. So not as much impacts, but yeah, still I'd watch out even if you're in that limited risk or minor impact area. Because, yeah, there could still be some problems then. So let's now take a look at the New York forecasting office here in New York City. This is what they're saying for winds. Now, there is an extreme risk for some non-thunderstorm wind in portions of Long Island here. And I'm actually just going to circle that right here. right there is where we have that chance for some of that non-thunderstorm wind to reach near hurricane force. So I definitely watch out if you're in this area, because yeah, hurricane force winds are possible, and that is very strong. And the hurricane force wind gusts are very, very damaging. So expect tree damage and power outages if you're in either the extreme or the significant risk. And then even in this elevated, actually, the elevated has been stretching more and more west. So the storm is most likely going to actually track more and more of the west, is what they're saying now. So more and more impacts are heading towards the New York City area, Long Island, and potentially even parts of New Jersey, which I'll go over in the next slide. And before we head to the New Jersey Forecasting Office, I would like to show the marine hazard risk offshore. As you can see, extreme risk for potentially hurricane force winds offshore. We're at least near hurricane force winds. So yeah, very, very, very strong winds offshore, extreme risk for winds, significant risk for just about most of the entire marine forecasting area as well. And now if we take a look at the New Jersey forecasting area here, you can see we actually have some wind threat offshore. It's a pretty limited threat, although we even have actually a small elevated risk here. That's for New Jersey. We also have a limited for Delaware and Maryland and even Pennsylvania, some isolated areas there. So there is that limited risk for some strong winds. But there's even elevated actually for the very coastal regions. It's hard to see. It's a little covered up, but there is that very small elevated risk there. So yeah, technically there is an elevated risk for some of those coastal areas. So if you are on the coast of New Jersey, I'd watch out for some of those strong winds as well. So now if we head over to our next slide here, this is our marine hazard risk. And as you can see right here, we actually have a significant risk for tropical storm force, or at least strong tropical storm force winds offshore. And then we have that elevated risk, which means tropical storm force. And that limited, which could mean some gusty winds possible. So I definitely watch out, especially if you're a mariner anywhere really in the Northeast. I'd not want to be out there, as there's going to be some very dangerous marine conditions, strong winds, and large waves. So I definitely be careful out there. And the reason I'm showing all this marine stuff is actually I'm just want to show that some of this actually could move onshore. So just for example, let's take New Jersey. If this significant continues to push this way, this could actually pull onshore, and we could actually see those higher wind threats for the coastal areas here. So that's why I'm showing these marine, because the tracks are bringing it more and more west. So I'm just saying Long Island, New Jersey, Delaware, you could be seeing these higher risks for wind. So I definitely want to be careful, even if you're on the coastal areas of any of these areas, because you actually get the highest risk for these strong winds. And now if we take a look at our tropics overview here, as you can see, next 5 days, we have this risk right here, and you may be wondering, why is this area of investigation here right where that nor'easter is currently impacting? Now, the actual answer to that is that this invest here is actually the nor'easter that we're talking about. It actually has a chance of becoming subtropical, extropical, or tropical within this orange highlight area here. So we have to watch out for some tropical development, and the chances are decreasing. They were 50%, and it went down to 40%, but it is still a medium chance, and I definitely still want to watch the forecast here, as we could be seeing a tropical system forming somewhere within this area here. Now, luckily, it does not look like land is going to be impacted in the near future, or even the next 5 days even. So the East Coast does not look like they're going to be seeing a tropical system by any means. But I think the main threat is really going to be offshore. Could be a fish storm that forms, maybe a weak subtropical storm could form. So this is something to watch. But luckily, no land impacts are expected as a subtropical storm or anything like that. So now let's take a look at one of our final slides here. As you can see, this is our U.S. warnings and everything like that. So you can see right here, a lot of fire weather stuff is actually in effect here for this area, and I'll actually come back to that in a few moments. But right now, I do want to talk about the marine alerts and stuff for the Northeast here. So you can see lots of gale warnings in effect, and storm warnings. These purple areas are storm warnings. It's basically a gale warning, but slightly stronger winds are possible, and yeah, basically a storm is forecast for that area. So basically everything you get with a strong offshore storm is what you're going to be seeing in this purple area. And we also have a gale warning in effect here for the a lot of the coastal areas of the East Coast here. You can see very strong winds possibly if you're in offshore, if your area is included with that gale warning or anything like that. Now, I would also like to highlight this area over here, which I just mentioned. All these fire weather alerts are actually associated with the severe weather threat today. There's that cold front that's actually going to be coming through, and that cold front has the potential to bring some very gusty winds back here. And then with those gusty winds, also it's gonna be kind of warm and very dry. So all those are actually going to come together and increase our fire potential across this entire area here. So red flag warnings are in effect, high wind warnings and wind advisories are in effect. So I definitely want to watch out for wildfires and strong winds in these areas. And now let's take a quick little look at the northeastern United States. Take a closer look at our watches and warnings. So currently we have a high wind warning in effect for portions of eastern Maine, southern Rhode Island, parts of Connecticut, and even Long Island is included in that high wind warning. And then we also have some wind advisories in effect for the Maine coastline here. This is a wind advisory. And then we also, I think, have a wind advisory for some of these areas here, which is actually covered by that flash flood watch. Now we also have a wind advisory for this area down here. This is actually, I believe, is associated with this storm. They could be seeing some gusty winds, and that is why they did put out that wind advisory. Now, heading over to those flood alerts, we actually have a flash flood watch in effect for this entire green area that I am circling right now. That all this dark green colors is a flash flood watch. So if you're in that area, you have to watch out for some flash flooding. These green areas here, these light greens, this is all river flood advisories and flood warnings and everything like that. So that is mostly for river flooding and aerial flooding and stuff like that. And then finally, we have our flash flood warnings in effect for this red area. So they could be seeing some of that flash flooding right now. And I'd actually recommend everyone in those areas stay off the roads as much as possible until these warnings do expire. And always remember to turn around, don't drown when encountering flooded roadways. And I would like to thank everyone for watching this video. I hope everyone found this video informative and useful. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be going live for the severe weather later tonight. If it is too late, I will not be going live because I do need sleep, and it is a weekday, and I do have school tomorrow. So I will not be able to live stream if it is too late. Although if it is early, I will have to look into it. But if it's early, I might be able to go live for like an hour or half an hour just to provide as much coverage as I can of that dangerous event. So I might go live, but I'll definitely let everyone know on Twitter what my decision is later after this video is posted sometime. So yeah, definitely make sure you check out my Twitter page. It is the Hurricane HQ on Twitter. My Instagram is at the Hurricane HQ and same as Twitter. My website is thehurricanehq.org, and my YouTube channel is youtube.com/thehurricanehq. Those are all my outlets, and you could find the links for those in the description below. And if anyone does have any questions or comments or anything like that, please feel free to let them or ask them down below in the comment section. And also, I would like to give a shout out to Liam's Weather. He's an amazing YouTube channel, so definitely go consider subscribing to Liam's Weather and Manny Man, the Weatherman on YouTube. Two amazing channels for weather information. So even if I don't post someday, you can always check their channels, and they will most likely be posting a video. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hope everyone found it informative, and hope everyone stays safe from the severe storms, this nor'easter, the strong winds, and have a nice day.